They're like, what's going on? Dear conscious community, this is Amuna Yisrael, aka Sojourner, coming to you with Solonomics 101, again having this conversation outside on a beautiful day. There's so many things I want to say, so been watching what's going on for a while. You know, sometimes it's good to speak and sometimes it's good to watch, so that when you do speak, you're a bit informed. And this one is for the newly awakened brothers and sisters. Waking up out of a deep, deep coma has stages. And often, especially in this day and age, it's not taught. A lot of people are left to their own devices, are left to the internet, are left to all of this stuff that's coming out. And so much that people hurt themselves, you know. They hurt themselves. That's the children walking by looking like, what is she doing? You know, people hurt themselves. For instance, there's so many principles when I look and always asking for years, what's wrong, what's the matter, you know, how do we fix it? But I think just by watching and paying much attention, wisdom is missing. Wisdom is missing in our approach. Today, it's not only books, but the emergence of the internet with all this information, that's knowledge. That's the substance, that's the knowledge. And it's abounding, and I always talk about it, it's abounding. Anything you want to know, you just put few keystrokes and boom, it pops up on your computer screen. Here's the problem. This one is for new conscious awakeners. When the baby is first born, everything that baby needs is in the mother's milk, it's in the mother's touch, it's in that gentleness, hopefully, of the mother that's going to give that child the nutrients and the footing that they need now to be able to process whatever they are doing. That first teacher is a feminine principle. When the mother or something happens and some kind of artificial intelligence steps in, it throws off everything. That's why when you look at formula and you look at what it does to the body and all of this stuff like this, it throws off everything. I say that to say, when you are just reawakening, you need some type of basic elementary, because that's what breast milk is. It's a basic elementary breakdown of form so that you can take in what it is that you're given. And this knowledge that the people are taking in, as soon as they wake up, they're gorging on it. But you have no teeth. You have no foundation. And what it's doing, what I see it doing, is crushing a lot of people, because knowledge can make you go crazy if you do not know how to process it. If you shove red meat on a baby, that baby could not process that. And what's happening is a lot of these teachers want to wow the people. They want to wow the people on how much I know, because, you know, I've been in this 50 million years. And the reality is you're feeding it to a child. Where is the elementary approach to be able to say, hey, look, let's get on a foundation that's solid, that when I start to pile all this stuff on top of you, you don't topple. It's allowing people to lose their minds. They're already broken. They're already jacked up. They already have family issues. Already have self-esteem issues. Oh, understanding different phases of growth and development is very important. It's very important. A baby just doesn't go from a seed of the father, goes into the egg of the mother, and then pops out a baby. It takes 9 months. Everything is a process. For the young ones out there, I would say, I mean young meaning just coming into the truth. You could be 10, you could be 50, you could be 75. When you come into understanding that everything that you have been taught, the possibility it was a big fat lie, you go into something called shock. And when you go into shock, there's some kind of grieving that happens through a loss. And what you're doing, you're losing the reality that you thought was your reality, when you realize that everything you ever believed or were told, to a large degree, I wouldn't say everything, but the mass majority, is a lie. That person goes into a grieving process. Grieving is a process. Grieving process goes through anger and denial and different things of this nature. When we see, and this is why you see people who just coming into the truth tend to be really, really angry. And the zeal that they have, they go around blowing fire on everybody who looked just like them just 2 days ago. Because there's no understanding yet as what name compassion or understanding that you, with the mercy of the Creator, just woke up. And then we egg them on to make them think that this behavior is acceptable, when the reality is, when you just wake up, you need to, the baby, when that baby is just born, that baby intuitively, the wisdom, because wisdom is the first teacher, right, is looking for nutrients so that that baby can have some kind of substance. That's not what's going on to a large majority. That is not what's going on. What's going on is they ain't even going for the low fruit. They going to understand high things, and when they can't understand it because they don't have any foundation, they get confused. And when they get confused, they go from place to place, from here to there, and everywhere, and it causes nothing but confusion, drowning in a sea of knowledge. If we remember, some people subscribe, other people don't, to, it said, the knowledge of good and evil. And knowledge can mess you up. Now, here's one more thing. If you just woke up and been asleep for that long, look up the stages of coming out of a coma or a deep sleep. Depending on how you wake that person up, that can also be dangerous. Because that person will be disoriented. If you ever woke somebody out of their deep sleep, they're like, what's going on? Because they don't know where they are, even though they were sleeping, and you throw this information on them. If there is not a way in which to help them, not brainwash them, because this is where a lot of people come in. With the whole brainwashing thing, the whole doctrines of man thing, the whole misinformation skewing of, and really preying upon the fact that they don't have the ability to process this information. Words and knowledge is spiritual information. If you were on a fast, which would be equivalent to a coma, when you break a fast, if you try to stuff a whole lot of food in your mouth, because you have not been eating for a very long time, it has the ability to make you sick. This is why oftentimes when you break a fast, people say drink tea so that it can burp off the gas, or maybe that's me and my Caribbean heritage, but you burp off the gas and you burp off the emptiness that's in your stomach before you consume. If you have been fasting off of knowledge, meaning you didn't know it, you were in the dark, a whole lot of things for a very long time. If you gorge on knowledge, you're going to make yourself sick, because your mind, your heart, your spirit doesn't have the ability to process the knowledge that you are getting. You don't have the basic fundamentals, and instead of seeking the basic fundamentals, you look at someone else who may be 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you and think that I'm going to get there now. That is immaturity in the spirit. And when these people are told, slow down, calm down, relax, oh, you are slighting me, you think you're better than me, and all of these crazy things that we say. But prayerfully, this message is getting through that, dear conscious community, and this is for the babies. And also to the teachers, the elders, the sisters, the brothers who came before, be careful. Don't be a stumbling block to that baby. That child just woke up 5 months ago, and they going hard. They're going to burn themselves up. 7 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago, they're going to hurt themselves because they don't have foundation. Furthermore, they're not aware that just accumulating information, if you don't process all of what you get, you know what you do? You make yourself sick and want to throw up. You make yourself sick and you want to throw up. And then people fall out and you're like, man, whatever happened to such and such. We're not being responsible. And it's not to say to hide information from people. It's not to say to control people. It's to say to at least warn people, to say be careful with that stuff. I have seen time and time and time again people who are not ready because they do not or did not take the time to first even learn, who in the world are you? What kind of mind do you have? What kind of issues are you faced with? And here's another thing. They say there's a whole lot of different levels of consciousness, depending on what school of thought that you go to. There's not just one level of consciousness, oh, now I know. No. Knowing and doing is like, one is here and one is here. There's a part where you don't know that you don't know. And that's you walking around thinking you a Christian, thinking you were this, thinking you were that. You don't know that you don't know. Then all of a sudden somebody comes and say, oh, you read it or you see it or you see a video or whatever, a book, somebody comes and says, hey, you're not that. And you're like, oh, your eyes are open now, the scales dropped off, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. So now you come into not knowing that you don't know, to come into, now you know that you don't know. And then you're like, oh man, all of this stuff. All of a sudden your eyes get bigger than your belly or your ability to comprehend, and you start gorging. You watch this video, you watch that video, you do this, you do that, you read this book, that book, that book, that book. And now you start babbling because you're confused, because you don't have a foundation. Because this is what's happening in this digital age. You know, it used to happen in the books, but you might have to go search and ask people. People don't do that anymore. They don't ask nobody anything. They don't get experiences. You're isolated sometimes. You don't have anywhere to go. So you just jump on the internet, and this is what it is. And then from there, after you know that you don't know, and you begin to acquire these thoughts, you begin to acquire these skills, you're supposed to apply it. You're supposed to apply it. What is the purpose of all this knowledge if you don't apply it? I hear people fight against the Bible all the time, and I asked somebody, I was on a show one time, and I asked the brother, he was fighting against the Bible, bonfire, and I'm asking him, I said, let me ask you something. Are you trying to tell me that everything in the scripture is not beneficial? Everything is a problem? Oh no, I'm not saying that. So what's your problem? What is the problem? If we approach the text, if we approach our lives with wisdom, some say it's common sense, some say it's discernment, whatever you want to call it. It's the ability to look into what is going on and understand that you don't understand. At least the wisdom to know that. And then go from there, because the knowledge does not automatically equal wisdom. And a lot of our brothers and sisters who are waking up are repeating some of the most disgusting, atrocious thought processes that are being fed to them, force-fed to them. And they're taking it up, and if you sit down and question them, I tell you, because I have, they cannot answer you. And the reason why they can't answer you, because they weren't taught how to think. Their mind and their brain is arrested. And so when somebody's selling you the Brooklyn Bridge for $1, you're like, yeah. And you run around and tell people that. I pray. I may sound a little upset, because I am. Because as I see what's going on and really looking behind some of what's going on, it's the careless distribution. And I think to a certain degree it's by design to destroy and trip up people. Because if people have been guarding certain information for hundreds of years, and from the person was a tot, they were taught and instructed. And we, in our arrogance, ignorance, and egotistical thought process, think that we're just going to magically absorb all of this information and be okay. It doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. And you look around and people say, why can't we move forward? Because the way in which we're consuming information, it arrests your understanding a lot of times. And we don't go through the phases of consciousness and the phases of learning to actually implement what it is that you're talking about. So yes, I can know the history of the world, but how am I now going to apply that to better my situation? How am I going to apply what it is that I know? Am I going to spend all day on social media? How about I take the information, learn more about myself, improve my standing, and then by extension, my family, by extension, my community, by extension, my nation, by extension, the world. We can't do that if we don't use it. We can't do it if we don't use it. We can't do it if we don't do it. So there is a time to speak. There is a time for discourse. There is a time for internal reflection.